Welcome, I'm Dr. Melina Roberts, and I'm going to talk about the flow patterns of the lymphatic system, because I think that if we can understand the flow patterns of the lymphatic system, then we can actually understand a number of different ailments that could happen within the body. So I'm going to go through that with you today. Now, the lymphatic system is what I call the sewer system of the body. So it cleans up tissues and then it moves that toxic load out. So it's a really important system. It's considered a secondary circulatory system, but it works a little bit different than the circulatory system. It should be about the consistency of water, but when it gets all congested, it becomes more the consistency of sludge. So we really don't want it to be congested. We really want that dynamic system to be moving constantly, cleaning things up and then moving that toxic load out. Now, this lymphatic system is a passive system. It doesn't have any valves like our arterial system does. It does have mini valves, which do allow fluids to go in, but don't allow fluids to move out. But this system, because it's a passive system, it's really dependent on the venous system, so the whole arterial circulatory system. And it's also dependent on muscle contraction in order to move these fluids through. Now, if these fluids aren't moving effectively, then our body will actually reabsorb those fluids into our tissues. And sometimes those fluids can be filled with toxins. And so then we just reabsorb those toxins. So that's why it's really important for the lymphatic system to be working optimally. Now, I think it's also important to understand that when that lymphatic system is congested, a number of things can happen. Sometimes you can see that the immune system is lowered, or we can have chronic infections, chronic inflammation can be happening within the body. And we can also have a decreased capacity to be able to properly detoxify. So those are all the problems that could potentially happen if the lymphatic system isn't effectively moving. Now, you can think of the lymphatic system sort of like a funnel, because the lymphatic system is a closed system. So you first have your superficial lymphatic system. And your superficial lymphatic system, what it does is it drains the head, the neck, the skin, the breasts, the muscles, the joints, everything superficial. Then we have our deep lymphatic system. And our deep lymphatic system drains all of our deep vital organs. So the superficial lymphatic system drains into that deep lymphatic system. It all filters through the liver and empties out the colon. So that means that if we're not effectively moving our bowels, that can back up the liver, which could back up the deep lymphatic system, and then we start to see symptoms showing up in that superficial lymphatic system. That's the same thing as we have blockages happening in the liver. If the liver's not effectively moving, again, it backs things up until we start to see symptoms showing up in that superficial lymphatic system. And some of the symptoms we can see showing up in that superficial lymphatic system can be things like chronic sinus infections, the chronic ear and throat infections. We can see stuff showing up because the head and neck isn't properly draining. We can see congestion happening in the skin, where we get some edema and some fluid retention. Superficially, we can also see dark circles under the eyes. Dark circles under the eyes will tell us that that lymphatic system is not properly draining. We can see people with a weakened immune systems, that their immune system's not properly functioning. And that can show up also if we have enlarged glands, enlarged lymph nodes in the head, the neck, even in the armpits. This can all tell us that that superficial lymphatic system isn't properly draining. And so you kind of have to look downstream and see, why isn't that lymphatic system properly draining? Are the bowels moving? Is the liver properly moving that toxic load out? Do we have some congestion happening within the deep lymphatic system, and do we need to work on activating that in order to get that superficial lymphatic system moving? Other things that we can also see when that superficial lymphatic system's not moving is we can see arthritis pictures, or we can see pain in the muscles that, or if you get injuries to those muscles or joints, that they're not effectively being healed, that we're not getting enough of the healing agents to the area. So these would be other indications that the flow patterns of the lymphatic system aren't draining properly. So I hope that gave you a little bit more insight into how the lymphatic system works and how it can also be affecting your health. So thank you so much for listening. I encourage you to share this with your friends, to press the like button, to make a comment below, and until next time, continue to learn, grow, and build health.